Imagine being 28 and teaching yourself how to become a man. Imagine being 28 and learning by yourself how to be a man. I know a lot of fellas relate to this, and I know a lot of fellas can understand that sometimes you don't get a chance to have a father figure in your life. Look, I do have a father in my life, and I'm gonna share you a little story on how I'm releasing the resentment for my father. So, my dad grew up in Puerto Rico. He was an orphan for most of his life. He ended up moving to a couple places, and he ended up meeting my mom, and he was in the military. So he was a militant man, and he also, dealt with a lot of hardship, a lot of struggle. And, I can't blame and put all the blame on him for, raising me and my brother the way that he did. I also have a mom too, so I do have my parents in my life. But there is a thing where if you have emotionally unavailable parents, it is almost like having no parents at all. Yes, they did support me. Yes, they did. Yes, they did give me shelter and food and water, and that's a blessing. That's a blessing. And it's a beautiful thing that I was able to live under their roof, and I didn't necessarily have to pay too many bills growing up and everything. And they provided a secure life for me. So I could have been on the street, I could have been orphaned, I could have been anywhere else than where I was. So it is a blessing, and I'm not trying to shame that blessing. But there comes a point where the emotional unavailability really strikes you as a child. I used to be a mama's boy. Because my dad would never really give me what I needed from a father. He would never really give me what I needed from a father. There's a lot of tough love. And, being somewhat of a sensitive child, tough love did not go well for me. I would try to express myself to him, and he would say, "Oh, somebody got it worse than you." The classic quote, "Somebody got it worse than you." Mental health isn't really a real thing, and all of that type of stuff. Because, I was dealing with a lot mentally. I used to get bullied in school, and I used to, just isolate myself a lot. And nobody really noticed. Like my mom and my parents didn't notice. My dad didn't notice. They just thought, that's just how I was. And then, after they realized, like, hey, like, this guy's been, like, probably in his room all day or in the bathroom all day, they just be like, "Oh, why you not spending time with me?" and all that. But, I used to get my ass beat for, like, stupid little things, I always remember for, like, not knowing how to tie my shoe. I used to get my ass beat for that. The first time, like, I really tried to tie my shoe, like, I got my ass beat because, I didn't know how to do it. And it's just like, there was a certain point where I didn't need that roughness. And, I'm looking back at it, that maybe that roughness was a little good, maybe sometimes warranted in a way, because sometimes, I would start rebelling, honestly. I started, smoking a lot of weed. I started escaping. I started, not doing, the house chores and stuff, and more so the house chores kind of, started making him beat my ass too. And, I feel like me and my brother got a little rebellious. So I'm releasing the anger in my heart for this man. I feel like it's not super deep, but in a subconscious way, I feel like I don't have a father figure to him with advice. I try to come to him with advice and all, and I don't really get much advice about anything. I feel like I'm just on this path by myself where I'm just figuring everything out. I mean, all men have to figure everything out kind of by themselves anyway. but at least to have a little bit of guidance or a little bit of like emotional support would go a long way. I feel like my mom didn't really even emotionally support me too much either. But the one thing I started realizing as I started getting older is that people can really change, and it doesn't matter what age, because nowadays they're a lot better than what they used to be. There are moments, I try to have a conversation with my father and I can't even look him in the eye. I can't look him in the eye because I feel like I'm holding on to something that I don't want to hold on to. I'm holding on to some resentment, some anger, or something. Not that I will lash out, but I am trying to release that hatred in my heart. I'm trying to release the hate in my heart because I can't live like that. If I'm gonna keep going on in life, I can't live like that. There's no way anybody could live like that. Having hatred in your heart is not the way to go. And I just wish he was a little bit more there. Emotional unavailability, getting that as a child, you start getting into that as an adult, and then you start being like, well, if my parents weren't really there for me, or like the people that I'm supposed to love weren't there for me, how can I or why should I be there for anybody else? Why should I be there for anybody else? Because love brings pain, and that's pretty much what it taught me. Love brought pain. That's what love from my parents brought. It brought pain, at least in the beginning. We're doing good, you know what I'm saying? We're getting better, I'm expressing myself to my parents more. I talk to them more, and it's great. But there's still something in my heart that maybe I should have a conversation with them, but I can never have that strength to bring that conversation to them, because I know that, one, they're not even gonna watch this video. So whoever does, I appreciate y'all. But yeah, man, I just wish, we were taught about things. I wish we were taught about like how to like save money, or what to do with your money. And I wish we were taught like about sex, and like, how to treat a woman, and what you should do, what you shouldn't do. Because all we used to see is, our dad lashing out. He would get really pissed off of like little things. Not that he would like hurt my mom or anything like that, but he would just get really pissed off. And like, as a child, seeing that all the time, all you see is a guy that doesn't know how to really regulate his emotions. So then you start kind of going into life as a guy that doesn't know how to regulate their emotions, because that's all you used to see as a child. Like, he would start screaming, cursing. Like, that's how he used to be. He used to start screaming, cursing over because I put the pencil that was on the table where he put it, I put it on another table. And like, you don't need to be like that. Like, nobody needs to be like that. And I know that he grew up in a rough past, and he grew up in a rough type of environment. So that's all he knew. All he knew was survival. And I can't blame him for that. I can't say fuck him or anything like that. I can't. Because the main takeaway of it is that this was the first time, or at least the second time, of him becoming a parent. And becoming a parent for the first time is not easy. I'm not a parent, but I can only imagine. I know a lot of parents. I know a lot of people my age that are parents, or a lot of people that are younger than me that are parents, and they deal with a lot of stuff, and they don't, they're still children. We're still in our 20s. They're still children, and you're figuring this stuff out. You're figuring out your own life and what you want to do, and then you got to figure out your life for your child and their life and everything. So I don't want to blame him. I can't say fuck him because that's just not right. Because ultimately, he provided. Yes, I wish there was more of a safe space for me. Yes, I wish that, I could have handled things differently, or I could have, been more emotionally stable enough to like be like, okay, like I understand. I wish I understood how I understand it now. I wish I did, because then life would have been a lot different, you know. So now I'm dealing with, you know, I'm dealing with like commitment issues and emotional detachment and just like being one of those types of people that be like, yo, I don't need nobody in this life. And I feel like, you know, if I had a little bit more of a loving space to grow, then I feel like I wouldn't be dealing with these problems as an adult. So yes, I do have a little bit of something in my heart, because yes, I did say I can't really look them in the eye sometimes. I can't really hold a conversation sometimes. And it's like my inner child screaming for help. My inner child's like screaming like, oh, if you get too close to this guy, he's probably gonna hurt you. And that's not true. It's not true. It's not true at all. It may not be true. And, you know, it is Father's Day. I do want to say, you know, if you never had a father, if your father was never in your life, then, you know, I feel for you. And I can understand, at least to some degree. I can understand, and you know, I feel for you. And if you're one of those types of people that have a father that also wasn't really a father figure in your life, I completely understand. And you know, being like a Caribbean, you know, he's like 60 years old. You know what I'm saying? Being like a Puerto Rican, like a Spanish father, like, you know how they be like none of the stuff that you're dealing with is real. Like, you don't know pain, you don't know struggle, but my pain and struggle is valid. It was never not valid. And I wish he actually was able to tell me something like that, or at least be able to talk to me about it. You don't have to bash me about it, you know? Bashing me about something like that, it does a lot as a child, and it's really tragic. But you know, as I said, we're doing better, and we're getting there. We're getting there. So just know, people can change. It may take years. It may take years. It may take years, because all this stuff that I talked about happened when he was maybe like 40 or something, you know? And now he's like 60 something. He was like 50 something back then. Whatever. But you see what I mean? People change. People change. He changed his ways, you know. We talk, you know, but you know, I moved out of the crib, so we don't talk as much. I still notice that I go and talk to my mom more, that I want to be there more with my mom than my father. But I'm trying myself, because also I need to grow. And that's what I need to realize too. So I appreciate y'all for watching this video. I was being very vulnerable. I probably left some things out, but being very vulnerable about emotionally unavailable parents, because that it really matters. Yeah, and I appreciate y'all for watching. Support a brother.